What's up, Star Chasers, and welcome to another video. So this video is about tips for artists who want to post online, especially on social media. From my personal experience, I find it to be quite difficult to post on social media. The reason is there's a lot of pressure to keep up. You feel like you're a little drop in the ocean, that you put your best work out, and not all the time it's seen, either because you're just starting out and you're a newbie, or it's just the algorithm is deciding to push other people's work out. And so you might feel really discouraged. You might feel as though, what's the point of me doing this? And you might suffer from different mental health challenges. There have been times where I've actually had to step away from social media because I felt myself drowning. I just want to share some tips for anybody who feels a similar way as I did on how you can really use social media professionally, but also keep an eye out for the challenges that might come across. First of all, for anybody wanting to know why would you want to post on social media, I'd suggest checking my other video here in the corner and watching that first, where it talks about the benefits of posting online and deciding whether you want to have your own website or a social media account. For me, I use my social media I use to get more reach, to promote my art and find people who, would appreciate it and support me in my career. When I give these explanations or examples, I'm speaking from my personal point of view, but I've spoken with other artists as well, and I feel as though it is a common theme. Let me know below if you relate to any of these ideas. When I create art, it comes from a very personal place. When I make art, I identify myself as being an artist, the person who creates it. And a lot of what I do is quite soulful and expressive from myself. When I make an artwork, it feels as though it's part of me. So when I post it online or release it publicly, there's a certain amount of apprehension that comes from, would people like it or not? Because that artwork is related to who I am as a person. When posting on social media, you might find that you put an artwork, you put a lot of time and care into it, and you really feel a personal connection, and you upload it, and then suddenly you don't have any likes or any reception, and you might feel really downhearted, because it's not that people didn't quote unquote like your artwork. It's almost like they didn't like you as a person, because that artwork is so connected to who you are. And so that's why I find the connection between social media to be so demoralizing, is when you connect that thing you're posting online to who you are as a person. It feels as though you take on more a personal injury if things don't work the way you want it to. Here's what I have kind of figured out in my different explorations about identifying yourself as a professional artist, or let's even say a hobby artist as well, if you like doing art but you don't want to do it professionally in the same sense as me. So social media itself is designed to reward people who post regularly. So it wants you to be on its website a lot. It wants you to post. It wants you to comment and interact. Now, as an artist, this might depend on, your art making practice. If you are just doodling in your sketchbook when you're in class, you might have a lot of doodles. But say if you've worked on a big project, it's taken you a couple months or so, it's going to be really difficult to upload, regularly every single day, depending on the type of art that you do. So what I find is you want to kind of separate in your mind why you do art and why you want to upload it online. You can't really say, I'm going to upload my stuff because I want to be famous, because that's sort of a bit of a vague goal. You can't really track it very well. So for me, I want to create artworks that are fulfilling to me, and I can do that in my house. I don't need to share it online. But when I share it online, it's because I want to find more connection with other people who would interact and appreciate what I do. I would like to create a business out of it. The idea where I could get jobs from my artwork, I could sell products, and by having a name that is known publicly, it makes me more of an expert in my field, which will give me more opportunities, say, for sponsored brands and different things like that. So that's what I'd say is my goal for publishing online. Now, as I said before, you kind of want to decide if art is your hobby or if it's a business. It sort of makes a difference. So, for example, say if you had a business and you were just selling something that you didn't really feel a personal connection to. It could even just be your part-time job where your job is to sell tomatoes or whatever. And you need to go out there and promote your tomatoes, because who's going to come and buy your tomatoes if they don't know they exist? So you don't feel as though you're being obnoxious or anything for advertising, because you just know that's your job. You need to get your tomatoes out there so people can see them. If people don't like your tomatoes or don't want to buy them, you might feel a bit disheartened because you're not making any sales from selling your tomatoes, but you're not feeling like a personal injury because it's not a part of you. However, when you are an artist, when you sell your art or put your art out there in public, you don't always realize that there's a connection, and you don't always, make a separation between yourself and that artwork and think of it as being a business. One of my kind of first tips is to just decide what is your relationship with your art and why you want to put it online. And then secondly, if you have decided, okay, this is my business, well, then you want to separate it. Even if your website or your social media is my name, art, or whatever, you have to kind of keep in your mind that your artist self is different to who you are as a person and your own personal value of your self-esteem. And you might kind of decide, what do you want to upload online? If you're really fast at producing artworks, it might be easy to do. But if you're a slow producer, you might want to think, okay, well, I might not put a finished artwork online all the time, but I might take work in progress photos. So that way I have something consistent to put online, but I don't have to do it all the time. Or maybe I might put things that is a little bit related to what I do, such as like art memes or my art station, my different art materials. And so that way it's relating to what you do. You can have something to post online, but you don't have to feel pressured to actually keep up with the expectations of social media if you don't produce as fast as everyone else. For me, I find creating art to be a great joy. It's something very natural to me, but uploading things online is a different skill altogether. I find it's a pain in the butt because you're going to have to either, take photos of your artwork, or if you have them on your computer, you want to transfer the file to your phone. You might want to do a description or figure out hashtags that apply to the type of art you do. And it's just a pain in the butt. So I could do art and have a lot of work prepared, but the idea of uploading stuff online would really hold me back. What you might want to do is also figure out a little bit of a schedule. I use a website scheduler called Later. There are different websites like Hootsuite or other ones where basically you can put up a whole bunch of posts and schedule them to release on different days. Instagram also has its own schedule tool. I think different social media sites do as well. But I find that sometimes if you use an external scheduler, it might even post to a few different social media sites at the same time, so you don't have to do it all together. So it could be you've created a lot of artwork, you spent good time in a nice creative frame of mind, and then you might put aside a different time, and that's your scheduling time. So you might use your scheduling app or website, and you'll put your artworks up. You might find some hashtags you like and save them. You can copy and paste your hashtags so you don't have to write them out by hand all the time. For me, I find it's good to use a scheduler on a computer because you can use a proper keyboard as opposed to having to just type on your phone. And that way, if you want to post consistently online, it is all set up. You don't have to think about it. Again, in terms of, reception, whether you want people interacting or you want lots of followers and interaction and things, to be honest, I can't guarantee, the best way to get followers or people really liking your art or not, because sometimes it's just a hit and miss. If you have more followers, you're going to get more traction. If you're just starting out and you have nobody, you're going to have, a slower start. And you just sort of realize that you are where you are. And again, you want to focus on the things you can control. So for example, you can control putting out more posts. And the idea is you want to put more posts out because you want to showcase your work to people. If you never uploaded anything, it meant that you have nothing to actually show. You can't control whether people are really coming to see your artworks, not unless you direct message people you know in real life. You'll say to all your friends, hey, come and look at my new artwork. But you don't really have control over just random people on the other side of the world. liking your stuff. You have control over your ability to go out there and post your artworks, or if you engage with other artists as well, you have control over your ability to interact in an art community. So if people are not kind of coming and posting on your page, that's not something you can control. And I find it's easy to fall into a little bit of a hole where you're constantly checking your phone, you're going back and forwards, you're seeing how many views have my post got, how many likes have I got. And you might feel a bit depressed because you're constantly checking to see whether people are interacting with your posts. Or you might go and follow other artists, and you might follow hundreds of other artists, and you might feel really discouraged because suddenly you might think their artwork is so beautiful, they have so much good reception, lots of followers, that you stop producing your own work, or you stop uploading things online because you feel really discouraged. You can't really control those things. You can only control your ability to produce and to upload. And again, you've got to separate other people's success, or other people's actions in this case, to your own action. Sometimes it's not easy. Like it's not easy at all, just because social media is designed in a way. It's designed like with the same mentality as gambling, slot machines, and things like that. The websites actually want you on their website more and more to use their page. They will use different algorithms to promote, posts that keep people on their platform. So you might have like a really good artwork, but if it's not trending, the algorithm would work against you. Just because your post isn't getting a lot of views doesn't mean it's bad. It's just the way the website is working. Try not to put your personal value into the reception of how it's being received online. An example is I have created, say, 2 different types of short videos. An example is I created a little short video. I put the same video on Instagram, and I put the same video on YouTube Shorts. So same type of format, same description and hashtags, and maybe even music or whatever. And one video probably got 1,000 views or some sort of thing, and the other video got, 12 views. And it's the exact same video, but in 2 different places. The result of that is not that it wasn't good or not. It just means that the video was being shown because of the 2 different algorithms, or the 2 different, platforms, to different people. The audience on one, platform was really receptive of that video, whereas the audience on the other video, either it was the wrong video or the mentality was different, but they just didn't, it just didn't become viral enough. Try not to put the value of your artwork based off of the way it's just received online, because it's not an accurate measure. Now, what's up, everyone? This is Editing Jess. I just remembered some stuff, so if I didn't include it in the video, here we go. I also just kind of remembered the time we live in right now is a very echoey place. And so when I say that, I mean in terms of different types of social media trends. Somebody might film themselves like falling over, and then another person will just like reshare the same meme and put, text on saying, "This is how I feel after a work day." And then someone else would recycle that same image and then change the text like, "This is what happens when you don't buy stuff from my store and you feel disappointed," or whatever. But basically, so many things on social media are designed by the algorithm to, I guess, keep showing you the exact same things that people are familiar with. So if they see the same meme over and over again, or if they hear the same trending music, people are more likely to engage because there's a sense of familiarity. So then we sort of live in this world where everyone tends to copy or echo each other. Whereas if you're an artist, you create things completely brand new and original, and it's something that no one's ever seen before. So therefore, in ways, the algorithms actually set up to not know what to do with your stuff because it's never existed before. It's not trending, so they're not going to push it in the same way. And one, that sucks. But 2, it just kind of lets you know that when your stuff isn't trending or viewed by other people, it's not because of the quality. It's just because you actually are unique. You might wonder, well, what's the point of putting your stuff online anyway if it seems like a waste of time? And honestly, sometimes I feel that way where I put a lot of hard work and effort to just really promoting my artwork, getting it seen, and it's not always seen that way. And so it may not show the quality of my artwork. That reception may not have anything to do whether my artwork is good or not. It doesn't stop the fact that I put a lot of energy and effort into it, because especially if you want to be self-employed or having this be a business that would ultimately give you an income, it seems as though like it's a waste of your time, your energies. And this is something I tend to find myself battling with is it worth the time? Or if I need to make money, I'll have to do a different job that's separate to me pushing my art business. And I find that sometimes you really can't avoid that. What you can do is learn to automate your efforts. So things you might have done before, you might save it for later. So for example, if you find some good hashtags, you might want to just copy and paste it so you have it somewhere else. Or if you're like me and you're doing YouTube and you want to have branding, say logos or transitions, instead of having to recreate those transitions every single time, you might have a certain level, you might have a folder of presets or different assets. So for example, if you look here in the corner, you have a little cartoon version of me here, the Rocket Child. You might have a folder of just icons and logos. You have a folder of icons and logos you use all the time. So if you're making new artworks, you just put the same logo. That way you have a consistent reach across different platforms, especially if you don't only use one social media, you have a few different ones. You can keep things consistent and it's easy to find so you don't have to recreate, coming up with new fonts and different things. Just as a follow-up to this video, 1, decide why you want to be posting online in the first place. If you are, a very personal person, if you create very personal work, keep in mind that you want to have a mentality that separates you as a person from the artwork you make. That way, when you post things online, you don't take things personally as a personal injury to your self-confidence or your self-esteem. Just know that you, the person, you separate yourself from your artwork, and you also decide why you're posting in the first place. So you keep an eye on the actual goal that you're trying to achieve. When you do this, you want to approach posting online or posting for social media. Think of it as a job rather than you just do it whenever the hell you want. Think of it as a job. You want to separate your tasks of making your posts or whatever, and batching it helps, such as using a scheduler so you can create a few different posts at the same time, reuse some of the hashtags or descriptions you might use, and have it scheduled so it can automatically post, and that way you don't have to take time out all the time. The better you get at automation or shortcuts and things means that it's easier to create works or to post things online, especially if you have different social media accounts. So that way you can post the same thing to different sites without having to redo it differently every single time. Keep in mind that each of the social medias have different algorithms. You may have a different audience who's interested in what you do. You may have a different reception. You may get more or less views and likes. And when that happens, just remember it's not a reflection of your personal quality or of you as a person. It's just the site or the app. You want to focus on things you can control, such as you can control your own ability to keep creating, to keep studying techniques you want to improve. You can control whether you post more or less online. You can control whether you personally engage in the art community. And keep that in mind, that's your power. So don't get intimidated by other artists that you admire who may have a bigger following, or whether people comment or don't comment on your page. Because again, that's something you can't control. What you really want to focus on is that you're like me, you love art and you really love creating and you make beautiful things that you think come from the heart, and you want to put it out there into the world to share and to form connections with people. When in doubt, keep that in mind. And again, posting your stuff online should be a tool. It should help you. It should help your art career or your, art hobby or however. And if you find that you're suffering, like if social media is having an effect on your mentality, take a breath. Take a breath, take a break. You can decide to like keep using it or not. That's up to you. But at the same time, just reassess why you're doing it. You don't want to just post to become famous and that's your goal, because you're just depending on other people to really achieve your goal. You're depending on whether the algorithm promotes your posts more or less, if that's your goal. Whereas you want to have a goal that focuses more on empowering you. Why do you want to post stuff online? Is because you want to share, you want to create a contribution and get your art out there.